Hi guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So, we are with Sulla and the Principes today, which hopefully we are going to be having a good game with. So we're looking into a replay today. I'm a bit short on time, so unfortunately we're going to have to replay rather than a live battle, because I haven't really got time to try and get some good footage. And you'll also note, for no other reason than because I'm a moron, I decided to wear a green t-shirt while using a green screen, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, doesn't really work. So you'll have to excuse that. But yes, I found this is one of the games I had while I was streaming a few days ago on the Roman Heavy Infantry weekend. And hopefully it gives a bit of an idea of how Sulla plays and kind of why I quite like him. So, to start of the game, pretty exciting. I was a bit slow picking a spot, so I ended up spawning a bit at the back. But I do kind of what I normally do on this map, which is push towards this watchtower. For a few reasons. One, if you're the first person to the watchtower, you normally end up with a good 500 to 1,000 points from the spotting damage you get. Unfortunately, in this case, because I got spawned at the back, I'm not the first one there and I can't get there in time. And secondly, because it gives you quite a few nice choices about where you want to go. I like this ramp, which leads down to the bottom here, so you can get involved in the fighting down this part of the map. Or if there's not enough allies or too many enemies coming this way, then it allows you to pull back to the centre or quite easily get over to the other side as well. So it gives quite a few choices. So I move up and I hang back. Let's wait, let's see what's going on. See what we can see from the enemy point of view. I was a bit nervous in this valley because of these two units of barbarian archers that are down here. And we didn't really have a lot in the way of infantry at the start. I'm looking at a couple of cavalry, which is fine, but by the time I got there, the cavalry might not still be there. And if the cavalry can't kill these archers successfully, then that's going to leave me quite sort of exposed and quite vulnerable. But as the cavalry starts to play around a bit more, I think I sort of just decided to sod it. Let's go for it. Let's see what happens. You know, only tier 4 archers, I might be able to get away with it. And I saw that these barbarian cavalry were kind of doing quite a good job of harassing. And I think now they're going to turn in. And wonderful. Good job. It wasn't the best charge ever. So it was kind of quite a poorly timed charge. But still, you know, they're trying to take out the archers. And that's exactly what I want. So I start to push down the slopes, trying to get my involvement in. Then to make things even better, we get these tier 5, same units as us, Principes, coming in. Or they're Scipio Principes, a bit of a strange choice. And everything in this valley largely is tier 4 bar these Punic mercenaries. So we have to see what our options are. So I start to move down basically, start to push into the open. And by the time I get there, these Principes will have engaged, which they are now doing, getting stuck in with those Punic mercenaries. And this is the first fight I see. So let's just slow down to half speed if I can. See, so both of these units are engaged on these Principes, and they've almost got a flank on them already. And they've just gone straight into the Perseverance, so they're sticking around for that fight. So, I pull these two units wide to give me tactical options, but I begin to push this unit in straight away. I notice the Barbarians see me coming and try and break off, so I just go for it, I whip to get as much speed as I can. They try and use a harass to charge themselves out, but because they used it inside their unit, it actually made them stop and allowed me to catch up. And you can see my unit just spread straight into them. And then they're left basically with no choice. They've already lost like 4,000 damage. And then I get straight in, go straight with a stab. We're up to 6,000 damage already, and they've not even got a hit on us yet at this point. Because of the way they're trying to pull out of that engagement when they were already caught, basically. So, and then very shortly, I should hopefully be going into Fortify on this engagement. Whilst I'm sending this unit to try and get in behind the Punic mercenaries, because I see that as a good opportunity to get a bit of damage there. Which we're doing, we get stuck in there. Although they try and pull out, and because I didn't have a charge, I didn't quite catch them as perfectly as liked. But on these guys, you'll see we have now entered Fortify. So that means these are really quite tough units now, because we've got 3 people basically against our 1 unit, which is perfect for Sulla in this situation, because Fortify makes this unit very slow, but gives it a really strong defensive ability. Over a nice wide front like this, you know, that's a perfect engagement for us, because it means we can win basically. Quite easily, you know, particularly when we're activating Whip, which gives us that massive increase to melee attack, around about 50% melee attack increase. We should be able to land hits quite convincingly on them without too much trouble. Obviously, we've also got a unit here with Prescription activated, which is affecting these. After we kill those Punic mercenaries, you know, I'm just flanking this unit round to completely surround these two Hastati and Barbarian unit. That's 3 enemy units now, encircled basically in a trap. However, on the other side, things aren't going quite so well, because I got entrapped myself a little bit. But I was keeping Fortify activated, and our archers, which I don't know where they're coming from, over here, did a really good job of basically slaughtering these Hastati, and that enabled me then to turn around and face off against these Hoplites. We made the mistake of, these guys have pushed too far forward, so they haven't backed off, so you see now their fatigue is really high, You can see they're barely racking up any damage against me anymore. Obviously I've got Fortify as well, which gives me that massive shield defense increase. So they're not doing that much damage, and yet I'm starting to land good hits on them now because their people are exhausted. So, Hopper players beware, you've got to manage your fatigue, otherwise you start to lose a lot. Although that was a good shield bash, I'll give them that. So ultimately, these units in here are really in trouble because they are struggling to land a lot of damage on me, and we can just keep up the pressure on them now. You know, our Fortify is really giving the advantages. Any sort of pitched fight like that where a Vengeance isn't in play, Fortify and Whip, you know, a really good move. Because the Whip, you know, that... I'll wait till I activate it again on another unit. And I should be able to show you the stats that it changes. But it gives you a massive boost. So that plus 52% melee attack, that is the same as a Vengeance, just not without the weapon damage. So that means you can start to land lots of hits. Obviously this unit I start to flank round. So we're starting to flank these hoplites here. And again, these hoplites are exhausted. So in part it's their weakness rather than my strength that's allowing me to get away with this. But I mean, just because they're fatigued and they're not backing off, it means they're really exhausting themselves. This guy's facing the wrong way. And basically these Hastartes stuck in the middle are just being continually cut down. You know, slow and steady, nothing amazing, but this is where Sulla, his strength is, just in that long pitched engagement, continually getting access to Whip. You know, Whip has an 8-second duration with a 16-second cooldown at tier 5, so you know, basically half the time your unit can have that plus 50% melee attack, and that's continuous. You can just keep activating that. Plus, it's also worth noting that Whip also gives you an increase to melee weapon damage. I think possibly 19%, 16% melee weapon damage, penetration damage. So that means, you know, you're going to be doing more damage against armored units like the Romans. So yeah, it really makes these guys really powerful. As you can see, we've come out of that. While one unit got pretty decimated by when I got surrounded here, other units are well above half health still. So, you know, we're looking pretty good in this battle, and we've already got to nearly 2,500 aggression damage from that main fight. And that is kind of the main fight of this battle. That's kind of what I wanted to show you. Now it's just a case of, I saw that we were being capped out. I had a quick look on the minimap, and it saw that there's a fair chunk of the enemy army was pushing towards base. And while we should have this battle in the bag, I didn't want to push up here and risk getting capped out if we didn't get back in time. So I start to send my units back. Obviously I'm just whipping myself all the way because obviously Whip also gives that increase to movement speed, which is kind of why again I like Sulla. I think that's why if you want to go down the Armoured Legionaries route, so the tier 6, these guys split into the normal Legionaries, the Armoured Legionaries. The Armoured Legionaries being that much slower than the lighter medium infantry. The whip that Sulla gives makes those Armoured Legionaries not so shockingly immobile. So if you're going to go for the heavy units, then really I think Sulla's the only option. I think Germanicus becomes too slow with them. So there's a bit of a battle going on in the centre. Looks like we're winning that pretty convincingly. And I'm just obviously continually whipping myself on to try and get up into these pikemen to stop the cap. These guys could be quite tough. If you get pikes in your base, you know, it's quite easy for them to block off the entrances. And obviously if you come face to face with a pike wall, there's basically nothing you can do. I was hopeful I was going to catch this guy because for some reason he was just in like fat legs backing off. I thought I might be able to get a unit round him, but he realises and turns around. So instead I just go for javelins because, you know, it gives me a nice 4,000 damage straight into his back and slows him down a bit. So I start to push these units up, and I'm wondering what I'm going to do here. Obviously we've got these pikes now facing us. They're not in a pike phalanx at the moment, but, you know, there they go, straight into it. And it doesn't leave me much in the way of options. So something, I'm just going to pause here just to explain this bit. So something I've found quite often that not that many people seem to take advantage of is sort of making decisions about how you're going to engage these guys. If I engage them frontally, I'm going to get basically 0 damage on them. They don't even have to advance into me. I will slowly take damage on my own, and I'll never be able to get close enough to be able to attack them because the range on their pikes, as you can see when we highlight it, is just far too long for my units to be able to get close. And if we look at this edge with the way the terrain ramps up and the fact that I can't really get a clean run up this side, it means I'm never going to be able to get troops through this gap. It's just never going to happen, or maybe one man, possibly if I'm lucky. But if we look at this edge here, one, I get a nice clean run because there's nothing obstructing me here. And there's much less terrain sort of impediment on this side. I'm probably going to catch a few units here, but if we look at the width of my unit, there's a reasonable chance that we're going to get at least 2/3 of my unit through that gap. So I push these guys up close so they're still threatening this pike phalanx if it tries to turn on me. But then I try and basically push through this gap, which basically worked really well. You can see I catch some of the people, but we get round. Unfortunately then, a blooming Roman cavalry charged into the back of me. But I actually achieved what I wanted, which was getting round. An error I did make, but completely my fault, I wasn't paying sufficient attention, was the fact that I got recharged by some other Roman cavalry as well. But things are going well. We're about to cap out the enemy base. But hopefully you can see that, you know, I actually managed to basically get round this pike phalanx with a lot of my units, and we're now on the side of them and starting to kill them off. And they're taking as much damage, if not more, than we are, considering we're also being attacked by this Roman cavalry. I mean, it doesn't matter, because there goes our base, their base we just managed to cap out, but we did enough to delay their base capture by being able to get round the side of that pike phalanx. But often I find that when you get a pike phalanx across a gap trying to block a certain space, which is obviously where they perform really well, you'll oftentimes find that there's sometimes a little bit gap. If you're desperate, you can really try and throw your units at a gap, or even if you had a charge ability to charge through a gap. You know, if you lose a third of your unit but you manage to get behind them when you're in a base cap situation like that, then maybe that's all you really need to do. So trying to target those engines of pike phalanx, I find, tends to work quite well. So yeah, I've been really enjoying these guys. I definitely prefer Sulla to Germanicus. I know Vengeance is, you know, an amazing ability and certainly more powerful than anything Sulla has at its disposal. But the extra mobility you get with Whip, I find is actually really useful. And it gives you a lot more tactical options. You might not be as strong in the fight when you get there, but you actually get there. Whereas you don't with Germanicus, you're still slogging, slowly walking your way across the battlefield. Not to mention the fact I think Fortify gives a really strong ability. And frankly, Whip completes half of what Vengeance is anyway, with that 50% melee attack. Because if you look at Germanicus, well, I haven't got upgraded at all, but a tier 5 Vengeance also gives 50 melee attack. So Whip actually gives a slightly more melee attack. It's just you don't get that weapon damage as well. So yeah, I can highly recommend Sulla as a commander for infantry. Certainly try him out if you're a fan of the Roman infantry, because I think he really adds sort of a different play style to how it goes, and is very enjoyable. So thank you for watching, guys. Yeah, give the video a like, that's what I was going to say. Subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content. We're also streaming a lot more regularly now, or at least more regularly anyway, more than like the once a month I was doing it before. So make sure you follow me on Twitch, and you should get a notification when we're up and streaming. I also put notifications out on our Discord and stuff like that, so if you want to join that, you can come and join in the stream, and you can party up with me, or just stop by and say hi. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I shall see you all on the next video.